Well, folks, good day to you one and all, and welcome back. Western Province Sports and GT Masters Series. Wow, it's been utterly amazing so far, and we're expecting great stuff here this evening. As always, with me on Mike's side, the voice of Western Province Motorsport, Frankie Yennis. Frankie, good day to you.
Good day, Gary. Good day, everybody at home. Yes, this is round 3, season 4 of the iRacing Sports and GT Master Series. Today we come to you from Hockenheim, which is the Hockenheim Ring, I should say, which is in a town called Hockenheim in the Rhine Valley in Germany. And the track temperature out there is 18 degrees Celsius. 46% chance of rain, 17 degrees out there, cloudy, 18 k's an hour wind, and the track length is just over 4.5 kilometers long. Altitude 100 meters above sea level, and round 3 of the Sports and GT Master Series.
Well, I think it's going to be great stuff. As always, Robbie Teens out there on circuit. So in no specific order, that's what Robbie Teens' car is going to look like for tonight's racing. And then let's see what the rest of the guys are doing out there. Gerald Majay in the 41 car. Waiting. Remember, everybody goes out, does one lap, and then a sighting lap. Then the timer starts running, and then they do 2 qualifying laps. And then the computer says, thanks very much, cheers, and go away. And they come back in a racing format. So Johan Fourie straight away goes to the top end of the grid.
A 139.519 there by Johan Fourie. Johan Engelbrecht, nice to see him back again. He currently sits out there in a provisional second pole position with Sway Schubert 0.6 of a second behind Engelbrecht, and Robbie Teens in P4 1.3 seconds behind Sway Schubert. That's Robbie Teens out there in that 107 car, and riding off the top 5 is André Steenkamp in. Look at that Batmobile signature on the, or should I say signage on the side of that Porsche GT Cup car, as he's known as Mr. Batmobile, or should I say his cars are known as the Batmobile, as he works his way into that right-hander, and he is 1.3 seconds off Robbie Teens. That's in provisional 5th.
Behind that's Andre Steenkamp and then Stephen McCarthy. But the man that's popped up a little bit higher up on the grid, Captain Peter van der Spy, on his first fast lap out there. Oopsie. And it looks like that is then going to be the fastest he is going to go, because having gone off like that, 8/10 off, that's about as good as it's going to get for him. Stephen McCarthy, nice to see Stevie out there once again.
Yeah, Stephen McCarthy so far out there in P8, 1.7 seconds behind Andre Steenkamp. That's there in that 7th position. And Luke Lucchesi, that's a loud color car that Luke's got there in 9th position, car number 16. And he's nearly 2 seconds behind Stephen McCarthy, just out there ahead of him. Luke Lucchesi with the Lego sponsorship on the side of that car of his. And riding off the top 10 so far, 2.1 seconds behind while Lucchesi, he's now dropped down to 11. He's Colin Plitt as Gerald Majay. He's making his way up the leaderboard. He is currently in that 10th position.
Yeah, Gerald doing some brilliant racing recently. There's Gerald up on screen now. Herman Lazarus is in that 12th position. Luke Lucchesi goes straight to the top end and the front row of the grid. Look at that. A 139.043. Francois Joubert pops up onto the second row of the grid. Johan Fourie still out on circuit. Let's see, where is Johan right now? There's Johan Fourie. This is his second lap, so he's on the front row of the grid at the moment. Francois Joubert and Johan Engelbrecht on the second row. Willem Botha, Swayze Joubert, that rounds out the top 6. Just about everybody still out on circuit. Anything can happen from here on out.
Well, so far there's 19 cars that's come out to qualify. Sandu Bakari has done a personal best of a 141.548, and he's 2.5 seconds behind Herman Lazarus. Bakari out there in car number 7. He's there in that 15th position, as we keep an eye there on car number 9 in P2 of Johan Fourie. 0.4 of a second so far behind your provisional pole sitter, Luke Lucchesi.
Well, I don't think it'll make that much difference as he comes through what's probably the last corner. Yep. I think he's on the front row of the grid already. Look, that was his second lap. Remember, the first one that he did was a whole heap slower than that. So Johan Fourie is going to put up a 139. Well, very, very close. 4 tenths between it. It's going to be a humdinger between the two big guns, Luc Lekizi and Johan Fourie. Francois Joubert and Willem Botha on the second row. Johan Engelbrecht within 9 tenths of a second. Swayze Joubert outside of the top 5 and outside of a second from the front boys on the grid.
Yeah, but Luc is sitting in that top 4 positions. Luc Lekizi, Johan Fourie, Francois Joubert and Willem Botha. Doesn't get much better than that so far. Those first 4 positions, those first 2 rows of the grid. Raymond Duggan sitting out there in that 9th position in
look
car
what just
71.
happened on the second place on the grid, Frankie. Look at that.
Yeah, I see Francois Joubert done a personal best, and he pipped Johan Fourie so far into that second position. Van der Spey has done a PB of a 140.145, and he's 1.1 seconds behind Johan Engelbrecht. That's there in that 5th position. He's a captain, Peter Van der Spey. So the guys are coming on to the server. We've got 20 of them out there. Eugene Manouk is the latest man to join, and he's 6.2 seconds behind Tiaan Dames. That is out there in that 19th position. And here is JJ van der Merwe. He pops up there in 17th place in car 67 with a PB of a 142.072, and he's 3 seconds so far behind 16th place man Colin Plitt.
Looks like Francois Joubert has got another lap to go. Has he done his 2 and he's just idling back to the pits? Yeah, so he's done his 2. Johan Fourie pulled into the pit lane. Willem Botha, where is Willem? Has he still got an opportunity to get onto the front row of the grid? Yes, he does.
Right, Willem Botha out there in the Red Bull Racing colours on his Porsche. Car number 301 currently there in that 4th position, 8 tenths of a second behind Johan Fourie. So let's see if he can better that position. Peter van der Spey, 1.1 behind Engelbrecht, still out there in that 6th position. He's Captain Peter van der Spey, making his way through that left-hander. As Graham Stephen pops up there in P8 in a 143.90. That's a personal best out there for him in the Gulf-coloured Porsche. Well, they're all coming onto that board now. 22 cars. There is 30 seconds left in the qualifying session now. So I think pretty much where you see those drivers at this point in time is where they're going to start this 40-minute enduro.
Wow, 40 minutes of action. There's just 20 seconds left for the guys to do whatever they can. Luc Lekizi is already in the pit lane, so is Francois Joubert, so is Johan Fourie. Willem Botha still out there on circuit. Will he be able to put another lap time in? No, he's just done a 1 minute 39, so that's that. Peter van der Spey, where's Peter? Peter's also come into the pits as well, and that wraps up the qualifier. So for those of you that have joined us, this is the grid for today's race. Front row of the grid. It's not a Johan Fourie front row of the grid with Luc Lekizi. It's Luc Lekizi, and alongside him, Francois Joubert.
And Johan Fourie will start on the 2nd row in 3rd position alongside Willem Botha, and Johan Engelbrecht on the 3rd row alongside Peter van der Spey.
Swayze Joubert and Graham Stephen, and then rounding out the top 10, Robbie Teings, the comeback kid with Raymond Duggan.
Stephen McCarthy, Andre Steenkamp, Sandro Bukhari and Gerald Mouget. The 8th row is Renier Joubert and Wayne Camage. And then the 9th row is Lazarus and Plitt. The 10th row is JJ van der Merwe and Leonardo Bukhari.
Tiaan Dames and Eugene Manouk ahead there of Mike Verrier, and I didn't see Mike out for the qualifier at all. So I think he's just starting straight off the tail end of the field is Dr. Mike.
If I remember right, Gary, after the first round, there was a situation on track. And Mike said in the iRacing Master Series he wanted to start, or he's going to start the rest of the season at the back of the field. So if that's the case, that's what he's done.
So let's have a look at what it looks like. If you're near the front end of the grid, that's what it looks like for Willem Botha looking forward. And if we look down from up above, that is the front end of the field as you see them there. Just working a little bit further back. This is all you guys that's busy coming out onto the grid now. And filling up a very nice size field. In fact, 23 in total going down to the tail end of the field.
Well, as you were panning down, I saw that Johan Engelbrecht wasn't on. There he is now. So he would have stressed out a bit. So 5 lights on, a slight pause, and away we go on lap 1 of 40 minutes, and a lovely start there by Luke Lucchese and Johan Fourie, and Willem Botha has sneaked up now into that third position. Johan Engelbrecht has also made a move. Francois Hubert has gone from second all the way down into that fifth, make it sixth position now, has Francois Hubert, as we have a look at them going into what they call the north curve. Now they make their way out of turn 1, 2 and 3 down that long straight where they go through the parabolica and make their way towards that hairpin corner. That hairpin turn is right there at the top right-hand side of the Nürburgring. Into the hairpin they go, and it's Lucchese, Fourie, Botha and Engelbrecht that is there, still rounding off that front four, as we welcome FC Nivot that's come to join us. FC, good day.
Well, we got a bit of a pile-up that's happened there. We're going to bring you that information as we can once we can get those replays together. So lots of action in lap number 1. And joining us fresh from the radio station, it's FC Nivot from Jostasie. FC, good day to you.
Yeah, good evening, folks. Lovely to be back here in the Second Gear Production Studio and back here behind the microphone for the Sports and GT Master Series. We are 1 minute 26 seconds into this race, being led by Lucchese. But look at this fight out here for that third and fourth place. Willem Botha being hounded there by Johan Engelbrecht in the number 10, right on his case. And this is going to get interesting really quickly.
Right, coming out that final corner now are the two of them. Botha sitting out there in P3, Engelbrecht there in that fourth position. Ahead of them you see Johan Fourie and Luke Lucchese. That is your top four going into that right-hander. There is Johan Engelbrecht. Oh, and Engelbrecht on the curbstones, on the rumble strip, and makes contact there. I think that was, yes it was, with Graham Stephen, and a trouble out there for both Engelbrecht and Graham Stephen.
Oh, that was a biggie for Graham Stephen. Let's look back at that one. That's Graham Stephen as he works his way through onto the curbstone, sees the smoke in front of it. There's just nowhere to go. Whacks it into the wall. That's going to blow his race big, big, big.
Yeah, you can definitely see the guys out there. Didn't expect that one. But your race leader, Luke Lucchese, is leading this one in the Lego-sponsored sports Porsche GT3 out there. And what a lovely looking car, I must say that is. He's got about a 7.7 of a second to lead there ahead of Johan Fourie, who's you can see that's not a lot of space to be ahead of Johan Fourie, but he is in the lead. It is Johan Fourie's work to try and catch him, but Willem Botha not far off the pace either.
Oh, well, it's a battle of the energy drinks there for second and third. It is a monster that's just ahead there of Red Bull. A replay here at Tian Damas, right on the case, trying to go through the middle, and he makes contact there with that 67 car, and all sorts of issues out there. That's JJ van der Merwe, so he was the driver, or is the driver that is in car 67, and Damas came through and bang into the side of van der Merwe went Tian Damas.
Yeah, there was a gap that was always going to close up, and you could see he was just way too hot into that one as well. Banged on the brakes, and just your brakes can only do that much before they say cheers and send you flying off the circuit.
And all sorts of other drama out there. Replay at Johan Engelbrecht. That is probably the situation where he and Stephen, no, he's got a problem there with that steering. Major issues out there for Johan Engelbrecht.
Yeah, I mean, with an impact like that, you could see he's got to turn completely to the right to just get the car to go into a straight line. But Tian Damas has also got, that car's also a handful now after all that contact. And a lot of the guys not very happy chappies. Let's have a look at Wayne Camage. Wayne Camage also getting the tail end out of that Porsche, stepping out down in that section of the Hockenheim ring.
Well, we go back live, and it is Luke Lucchese in the Lego car. Second place is the Monster Energy car of Johan Fourie. Third place is the Red Bull Racing Porsche of Willem Botha. Then it is Stephen McCarthy that sits up there in that fourth place. There is a Sway Schubert coming through in the 22 car, and Robbie Teens is just in there behind him. He's 4/10 of a second. His Teens behind the Sway Schubert. And Sway's 2/10 of a second behind Renier Hubert. So a heck of a fight out there for P6, 7 and 8 between the two Huberts and Robbie Teens.
Robbie Teens runs very, very wide there, and that allows Sway Hubert to come on through. Sorry, that was Was it Swace? No, that was Rainier Hubert that ran a bit wide there, and Swace that got past there. Mike Verrier behind them in the 8 call 24/7 33 blue Porsche, and he's sitting out there in a P9 with Leonardo Beccari, about 3 seconds, almost 4 seconds adrift in P10.
I just saw popping up there was a purple time for Luke Lucchesi and a personal best for Johan Fourie. Now PB there for Sandro Beccari, that finds himself up in that 5th position. There's Dr. Mike Verrier in the 8 call 24/7 number 33 Porsche sitting out there in that 9th position, and he is 4/10 of a second, make that 6/10 of a second just behind Rainier Hubert that is there ahead of him, who in turn is 2/10 of a second just behind Robbie Teams. So it's a lovely fight out there between them for that 8th and 9th positions.
Oh, well, Robbie Tings are dropping a position back there to Rainier Hubert. Hubert getting past Tings there up on the inside, but he completely overshoots the apex of the corner and slides off the circuit, and that hands the position back to Robbie Tings. And now Mike Verrier up on the inside, goes through and makes the move up into P8.
Yeah, demotes Hubert down into that 9th position. Luke Lucchesi is still sitting out there in a comfortable P1. He's 1.5 seconds ahead there of Johan Fourie, who is just under a second ahead of Willem Botha, that is in that 3rd position with the traffic coming up. As we have a look there at the Botha that goes through just behind Johan Fourie into that final corner as they make their way down the main straight into turn 1.
Keep in mind then that Stephen McCarthy 13.7 seconds further back. That is the side effect of that massive pile-up that we had earlier on. And as you said, Sandro Beccari putting up a fastest lap time. Sandro Beccari with a very, very good look at the back there of Stephen McCarthy. Stephen holds on to that position. Sandro Beccari looking very, very strong. Rainier Hubert in a battle all of his own just behind that.
Yeah, sitting out there in that 9th place, but he is crawling up onto the back end of Mike Verrier, who is all over the back of Robbie Tings. That is a 6, 7, and 8. 7, 8, and 9 that you see there in your screen going into that intersection of the Hockenheim ring. And Mike Verrier wants to have a look. He's going into that long parabolica part that takes him down into the hairpin. He sits there on the inside, and surely he will make the move on Robert Ting, stick into the hairpin, and yes,
Yeah, it's all
Mike
about
Verrier
braking.
makes the move there on Robbie Ting.
All about
Robbie Deans
braking, but he
hasn't given up on
overshoots
that
it.
one.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Mike Verrier almost overshooting it there and handing that position back to Robbie Tings. Robbie Tings definitely not giving up on this fight. He doesn't want to lose any positions. He wants to be right up there with the guys at the front. But I must say, Mike Verrier looking extremely racy out here today. And we're only on lap 5, 8 minutes into this race. And Mike Verrier doing very, very well, moving himself up into P7.
So P7 there for Mike, P8 for Robbie, and P9 there for Rainier Hubert. 7, 8, and 9 having a fight out there into that right-hander. Now they'll be onto the brakes for that left-hander. They'll be working their way through that hairpin. That's the intersection of the Hockenheim ring. You've got that entire grandstand section. Oh, look at Rainier Hubert as they come out of the final corner. Out of the last corner, they come down that home straight as we move back to Swace Hubert in that 6th position. And then behind him, there goes Swace Hubert into that long right-hander that takes him into turn number 1. So that is Swace Hubert out there in a P6. Sandro Beccari is just in there behind him as they head. Mike Verrier sits in P7, but his 3.1 seconds is Mike behind that man. Swace Hubert is only 3/10 of a second behind Sandro Beccari, who in turn is only 4/10 of a second behind Stephen McCarthy.
Yeah, there's a high-speed train, definitely all the way from 4th down to about 8th, 9th. Because if you look at that, Stephen McCarthy, he's battling it out there with Sandro Beccari and Swace Hubert. That's the fight we're looking at right now. There's going to be a move up here, up on the inside. Oh, he's got to close that gap down. Is Stephen McCarthy closes that ahead there of Sandro just in time. But Sandro overshoots it. Stephen overshoots it, sorry, and Sandro moves up and he brings with him Swayze Hubert up into P5. And immediately, look at that, that brings Mike Verrier a lot closer, who in turn is pulling away from Robbie Teens and Rainier Hubert.
Well, Rainier Hubert sitting up on the inside there. Robbie Teens in that replay and gets it all wrong. Robbie gets his nose ahead, but only for a fraction of a second before it all goes wrong there for Robbie.
Luke Lucchesi, the man that leads them out in the Lego color scheme Porsche. He's about almost 2.5 seconds ahead of Johan Fourie, who is doing everything he can to stay in touch there with Lucchesi, but he can't take it too easy and do too much fuel and tire saving, because 1.9 seconds behind him, Willem Botha, who's also doing exceptionally well today in the Red Bull Porsche.
Yeah, there's a back marker out there between the two of them, between Willem Botha and the man that's ahead of him, namely Johan Fourie. So there's a back marker between the two of them as they go into that right-hander. So we go back to this fight for fourth position between Sandro Bakari and Swayze Hubert. Swayze Hubert in the absolute water technology outfit. He does have the line for the right-hander. Is he close enough? No, he tucks right back in there. Does Swayze Hubert behind fourth place man Sandro Bakari.
Yeah, that's right. Look at that, the detail on that shot from the right-hand front wheel of Swayze Hubert. You can see how the suspension on the Porsche has got to work once you hit those curves. He's going to dive for the inside. He's going to close up. Ooh, so close there. Sandro Bakari just shutting the door in the face there of Swayze Hubert.
Well, Swayze Hubert out there in that fifth place. That's a right front suspension of that Porsche GT3 Cup car of Swayze Hubert. We get a lovely full view of the three of them coming through there. That is Sandro Bakari, Swayze Hubert. Right behind him in P6 is the 44 car of Stephen McCarthy. And there is 7/10 of a second between McCarthy and Hubert, who is 3/10 of a second just behind Bakari in that fourth position. And that's the three of them you see on screen going into that final right-hander.
Well, Frankie, having missed qualifying and the practice sessions, I only got a proper look now at Stephen McCarthy's colour scheme. What a gorgeous colour scheme. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey. It's absolutely brilliant. And just a correction, I know you like drinking water, but that's absolute vodka, my friend, on the car of Swayze Hubert.
Oh, right, okay. I thought it was... yes, the other ones was pink colours. That's quite right. Absolute vodka. Okay, so you're quite right on that one as... they make their way through. So here comes Sandro Bakari up on the inside. Sandro Bakari up on the inside. Has he got him? Yes, he's got him. He has got him for now. Bakari sits on the outside but does not take that position away. Swayze Hubert hangs on to that fourth position. And here comes Stephen McCarthy. And Lucas crawling up behind them.
Yeah.
Mike Verrier and Rainier Hubert, both of them FC are now joining that fight for that fourth position.
The thing is, while these three are battling it out, they're not exactly putting up fast times that are going to light up the timing screen, because you're driving attackingly and defensively
because
at the
they're
same
bogging
time.
each other down.
Yeah, exactly. And that's now allowed Mike Verrier to creep closer. It was at 2.5 seconds at one stage. It's now down to 1.8 seconds where Mike Verrier is catching them, and he's bringing with him the high-speed train of Rainier Hubert. And this is going to be an interesting fight as this race progresses.
And that's 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 that we are looking at there going into that right-hander. Yes, the Tennessee Whiskey outfit there of Stephen McCarthy. But back to the Lego-sponsored machine, the Porsche GT3 Cup car of race leader Luke Lucchesi, who is 4.6 seconds ahead of Johan Fourie in that second position, who in turn is 2.4 seconds ahead there of Willem Botha in the Red Bull Racing outfit colours on his Porsche. Willem is 17.6 seconds ahead of fourth place man Swayze Hubert, who is not in a comfort zone at all, because Sandro Bakari in P5 is only 0.8 of a second in there behind Swayze Hubert.
Yeah, behind Sandro Bakari, we've got the Jack Daniels car there of Stephen McCarthy, who's only 1.7 seconds behind them. Then Mike Verrier also creeping closer and closer in that 7th position, now only 1 second behind Stephen McCarthy. Behind him, Rainier Hubert with a slight lockup and that yellow Porsche of his. He's about 2.6 seconds there as he drops back a bit further now after making that mistake. In P9, Herman Lazarus in the traditional blue cheaper cars Porsche. He's out there in P9 with Gerald Maget in the 10th position in the Gulf oil colours.
Yeah, Leonardo Baccari is just out of that top 10. He's there in 11th position. Then he's 5 seconds behind Muget. That's there in 10. Riding off the top 12 is a 75 car of Colin Plitt. He's in that top dozen and he's 2.1 seconds behind Baccari. He's Colin Plitt. There you see Colin on your picture there, heading down into that right-hander, into that stadium complex of the Hockenheim Ring.
Then behind Colin Plitt, you got the likes of JJ van der Merwe. He's about 6 seconds down the field in P13, with Francois Hubert in the 304 car. He's way down the field, down in 14th position, 8 seconds behind Van der Merwe. Behind him, Robbie Teings had a bit of a nightmare of a race so far. He's also dropped down quite a bit, 5 seconds, almost 6 seconds behind Francois Hubert, with Tian Damas behind them in a 16th position, a further 13 seconds adrift.
Yeah, I remember Robbie Teings was involved in that incident right there in the very beginning there with Tian Damas. He was also one of the 2 drivers that was involved in that issue there. Tian Damas in that Mobile 1 car. Graham Stephen was also involved in the issue earlier on with Johan Engelbrecht, and that's why he finds himself in that 17th position. And Andre Steenkamp 7/10 of a second behind Graham Stephen was also in trouble out there with that Batmobile, and that's why he is all the way down in P18.
Raymond Duggan, the next man through in P19, 7 seconds behind Andre Steenkamp, followed by Wayne Camage down in 20th position. And then Eugene Minnock, Peter van der Spey and Johan Engelbrecht bringing up the rear end of the field. But look at this fight, Frankie. Mike Verrier now almost half a second behind Stephen McCarthy. He's going to start applying the pressure to the Jack Daniels car of McCarthy.
Yeah, Mike 4/10 of a second in there behind Stephen. That's in that 6th position. So this one is far from over at this point in time. And that is the fight for that top half a dozen. Mike Verrier in the 8-ball 24/7 Porsche is right in there behind McCarthy. Out of the final turn they come, heading down the main straight. It's a south curve, then they're going into the north curve, and then they go into turn 2, and then from turn 2 they go down that long straight there. They're going into turn number 2 now. It's basically turn 2, 3 and 4 all in one, and then they go down that long straight where they make their way through that parabolica into that right-hander, that hairpin right-hander right at the bottom end of the parabolica.
Mike Verrier definitely smelling blood in the water as he's getting closer and closer, getting later and later on the brakes. He's definitely lining up a move here. McCarthy runs wide. Verrier gets his nose up on the inside. Just does not get it back on the accelerator quick enough, but he's right there for another mistake from McCarthy like that, and he's going to hand it over to Mike Verrier. Let's have a look here. Can Mike Verrier do something here into this left-hander, into that corner? They go late on the brakes. They go again. McCarthy goes quite deep to try and be as defensive as possible. Runs a bit wide coming out of that corner. Verrier getting into the slipstream. Dives for the inside now. Is he going to take a move down there? Oh, this is going to be some quite close racing down there, Gary.
Oh, no, look, it doesn't get any closer than this. That is, in fact, the tightest battle that's out there on circuit, and Steve's feeling it. Steve is normally very, very smooth, but he's feeling this one. You can see it. He's locked up once or twice. He's run it a bit wide once. Oh, Mike has looked for the inside line, and he realized, oops, that gap is closing very, very quickly, and you saw that puff of white smoke as he locked up the right-hand front using the curbstones and more. And we saw earlier on Stephen McCarthy was weaving earlier on to ensure that he breaks the toe. But let's go back to the front end of the field. I do believe they were loaded with 50 liters of fuel, and that was going to be a open guess as to whether there's going to be any pit stops at all. Knowing Mike, he'll make it marginal, frankly. That's what he normally does. As Johan Fourie 5 seconds behind Luke Lucchese, still in the same picture frame.
Yeah, Lucchese out there in P1, Johan Fourie out there in that second position in that Monster Energy coloured outfit. Then Willem Botha is 3 seconds behind Johan Fourie, and he boasts the Red Bull Racing outfit. Then the Absolute Vodka machine of Sway Schubert there in that fourth place, and he's 18 seconds behind Willem Botha. He's now managed to crawl away from Bakari. He's 2.8 seconds ahead of Sandro Bakari, that is there in that fifth position. Then Stephen McCarthy there in P6, 4.5 seconds behind Bakari, but Dr. Mike Verrier only 7/10 of a second behind McCarthy is on the hunt as they go into that right-hander. They're literally working their way through that stadium complex there of the world famous Hockenheim Ring. One of those curves are also known as the Mercedes curves, and then they come out of what they call the south curve as Renier Hubert makes his way out of the south curve now. That right-hander is the final corner, known as the Suidkurve, and then they go up that main straight into turn 1, that's known as the Noordkurve.
Yeah, the Noordkurve is turn number 1. Turn number 2, the Einfahrt Parabolica.
Okay, you can say that.
The Einfahrt Parabolica is that second corner that they go into, and that goes into that long left-hander sweeper known as the standard Parabolica. But yeah, some awesome racing happening out there today at the Hockenheim Ring, being led by Luke Lucchese, and currently riding on board with Gerald Berger, and now jumping to Mike Verrier, who seems to have just backed out of that fight a little bit, just giving himself some time to recompose and then attack again.
Right, so back with an inboard shot there of the dock. He's having a look up on the inside there of Stephen McCarthy. 0.2 of a second between the dock and Steve, as he uses that rumble strip and a touch more of the world famous Hockenheim Ring up on the inside. Up on the inside in that Mercedes corner he goes, and he had a look there, did Mike, at Steve McCarthy, but Stephen has got that line covered very nicely as they go into that little infield chicane. They'll go into a left-hander now, and then they'll work their way towards the Suidkurve.
Yeah, the guys are battling out there. Colin Plitt having a very quiet race out there in 12th position, not really gaining on anybody, not really having any tight battles out there, but keeping his nose clean at this stage of the fight. But it's all about that man that leads the race, Luke Lucchese, 5.5 seconds ahead of second place man Johan Fourie.
Yeah, he's beginning to put laps on the back markers. He's race leader Luke Lucchese as he makes his way into that right-hander. Here comes Mike on the inside of McCarthy into that right-hander, and this time Dr. Mike Verrier moves up into 6th position ahead there of Stephen McCarthy.
Yeah, Stephen McCarthy that jumps in there behind Mike Verrier as we look back from Verrier down to that Porsche of Stephen McCarthy. McCarthy starting to drop back from Verrier, so Verrier definitely finding a lot of good pace out in this Porsche GT3.
Right, so now let's see, can the dock pull away there from McCarthy? Renier Hubert just made his way out of that right-hander. Will Renier Hubert catch Stephen McCarthy, and in turn will the dock pull away from McCarthy? Time will tell. Mike is now in 6, Stephen is in 7, Renier is in P8, 4.8 seconds just behind Stephen McCarthy. So Renier Hubert sitting in a comfortable 8th position, because he's 4.5 seconds ahead of that man that you saw there briefly, namely Herman Lazarus. And that man Gerald Berger, rounding off the top 10, is 3.7 seconds just behind Herman Lazarus.
Leonardo Bakari, the next man through in P11 in the number 2 Porsche. Behind him, that is Colin Plitt with about 1.7 seconds to go to catch Bakari. Behind him, Francois Hubert in the Alpha Tauri car. Ooh, look at Francois Hubert jumping past Colin Plitt just as we jump to him. It's Francois Hubert that makes up a position in the Alpha Tauri sponsored Porsche.
Yeah, and one would expect Francois Hubert to get the hammer down now and go after Leonardo Bakari. He is 1.7 seconds behind Leonardo Bakari as André Steenkamp is 5/10 of a second just behind 16th place man Graham Stephen. That is Graham and Andre that you see there in the same frame. Graham in the Gulf coloured Porsche and Andre in the Batmobile Porsche. So there is not much, 5/10 of a second between Stephen and Steenkamp.
Yeah, jumping back to the front of the pack, it is Lucchese who's now starting to pick up the back markers a lot more now with that Lego sponsored car as somebody dives into the pits. Who is that? As that Tian Damas that dives into the pits there. I wonder if that's to repair damage or is he already going for that pit stop?
Well, 25 minutes out of 40. We'll have a look and see. It is a number 20 car of Tian Damas that is working his way into the pit lane as the rest of the field flows past. And is that, yes it is. I was going to say, is that Willem Botha making his way into pits? I recognize the Red Bull Racing colour scheme and definitely FC Willem Botha in pit lane.
I wonder if this is a bit of a gamble or a strategy call to go as light as possible, go halfway and then do another sprint instead of going along with that full tank of fuel and then doing a short sprint towards the end. So it'll be interesting to see where Willem Botha ends up in this race.
So Willem Botha coming out in that fourth position. He's just ahead there of that man in screen, Sandro Bakari. That's there. Sandro in that fifth position. So the guys are beginning to make their way into the pit. Stephen McCarthy is in the pit lane.
Mike Verrier was also in pit lane and he's already on his way out of the pit lane.
Correct. So the Doc is busy working his way back out onto the track again. So 26 minutes. Stephen McCarthy also now working his way out back onto the track again. Colin Plitt is also in the pit lane in that 75 car. So with 25 minutes done, well 26, but it was round about that 25-minute mark that the guys decided now is time for a pit stop.
A lot of the guys are doing, it literally seems like splash and dash kind of pit stops, but Gavin just mentioned something interesting here. Was that not maybe a drive-through for some of the guys? So if we can maybe just call up the errors that were made, the penalties that were handed out. Oh, a lock up there from, who's that? From
That's
Mike Verrier, yeah. That locked up heavily there as he now slots in behind Francois Hubert.
Well, if you do 17 errors, then you get a drive-through. So yeah, it would be interesting to see. Nobody's got close to 17. It's only
Closest Wayne Camage and Eugene Manouk.
That's got 10. And then Lazarus and Mujay sits there on 8. But nobody qualifies for the drive-through penalty yet.
So that means those were literally splash and dash pit stops.
Yep.
To get it out of the way, get enough fuel into the car, and now push towards the end.
So Dr. Mike Verrier coming out the pits. He's there in that 9th position. Luc Lucchese has not made a pit stop yet. Neither has Johan Fourie or Sway Schubert for that matter. So Lucchese 8.1 seconds ahead there of that man you see on screen, Johan Fourie. Herman Lazarus has made his way into the pits in car number 69. There he comes down the pit lane is Herman Lazarus. So Sandro Bakari and Gerald Mujay must also still pit, and those are basically first, second, third, fifth and sixth that need to still go into the pits, and there are one or two a bit further down as well.
There we go. So the car's currently... Oh, as Luc Lucchese dives into the pits. So Lucchese, your race leader, now dives into the pits, and that puts your very late decision there from Johan Fourie to also dive in the pits. He does not want Lucchese to run away from him with enough fuel and fresh tires, so he also decides to get in there and stay on the case of Lucchese.
So let's see what Sway Schubert is going to do, because he has not pit stopped yet. Sway Schubert in the Absolute Vodka sponsored Porsche GT3. Does he come into pits? I think he's going to, and he does. Sway Schubert making his way now into the pits as Willem Botha comes around, but he has made a pit stop. So will Botha hit the lead? We'll have to look and see FC as he goes into
it's going to be very close.
North Curve.
He's going to have a lot of speed going down there, but I think Lucchese and Johan Fourie's done enough. Yeah, they have, because they are ahead of him out on circuit. But just look at the time difference between Lucchese and Fourie. Will Fourie be able to make that up with just under 11 minutes to go in this race.
So the next victim for Luke Lucchese will be Peter van der Spey, who's 4.3 seconds ahead of Luke Lucchese. So Peter van der Spey has dropped down 13 positions, and he is the next victim there for Luke Lucchese. There you see Lucchese going into the right-hander. He's 4 seconds just behind Peter van der Spey. So the next man that will be lapped there by Lucchese will be van der Spey.
So let's have a look there at the stop time of the guys that were in the pits. 9.9 seconds there for Lucchese, 9.7 for Fourie, Willem Botha 10.1, Sway Schubert 9.4, Sandra Bakari 9.4. My quick question was Mike Verrier 8.7. So that was literally a splash and dash there for Mike Verrier, but he's dropped all the way down to 19th.
Yeah, but Colin Plitt 8.5, so there's also a pretty quick stop out there for Colin Plitt. So that's Mike Verrier, who's 0.3 of a second. Stephen McCarthy, who's right on the case of Leonardo Bakari, and that is that fight for 6th position. No, had his head, or his nose just ahead there of Leonardo did Stephen. But Leonardo Bakari for now hanging on to that 6th position.
I'm quite confused with where Mike Verrier's ended up after this round of pit stops. Well, I don't know if there was maybe an incident that we've missed, because he was laying in a good, what was that, 6th, 7th position before the pit stops. Now he's dropped all the way down to 22nd. So hopefully there will be a replay of something, unless there's something gone wrong for Mike Verrier. But anyway, riding on board there with Leonardo Bakari, he finds himself up in 6th position, 13 seconds behind brother Sandro, but loses that position to Stephen McCarthy as he dives into the pits.
Yeah, Leonardo Bakari making his way into the pit lane, and he moved up 13 positions from the start of the race, did Leonardo Bakari, as he finds himself in the pit lane for his routine pit stop on lap 19, with 31 minutes done.
Yeah, 8.5 minutes left in this race. Riding on board with your race leader, Lucchese, out in P1, 8.9 seconds ahead. I thought we were going to see something similar where Johan Fourie all of a sudden put in that stonker of a lap and started catching. Let's have a look here what happened to Willem Botha. From 3rd position. Just clipped the curb there and just spun it around. But I was hoping we would see something where Johan Fourie would all of a sudden pick up the pace like we've seen in other races happen. He would be sitting there in that 2nd position and then go fetch Luke in the last stint of the race. But Luke Lucchese is actually pulling the gap ahead of Johan Fourie.
Yes, Lucchese P1, Fourie P2. That man 11.4 seconds behind Fourie in 3rd position is Willem Botha in car 301, sitting out there in that 3rd place. He in turn is 14.5 seconds ahead there of Sway Schubert, that is in that 4th position. He's 7.2 seconds ahead of 5th place man Sandro Bakari. There is Sway Schubert. There comes Sandro Bakari under the bridge. There's Sandro Bakari, who's 14 seconds ahead of Stephen McCarthy. There he comes. There is Steve, that is in that 6th position. Robbie Teens is in that 7th place, and he's been hassled there by Francois Hubert. We have a replay here at Renier, just overdoing it, and into the kitty litter and into that tire barrier goes Renier Hubert. But
I have a feeling Renier Hubert said ouch way before he even hit that barrier.
I think so, but if you look at that fight there for P7 between Robbie Teens and Francois Hubert, 0.2 of a second between them. Francois Hubert from virtually FC, the back of the field, he is definitely the man on the rise.
Yeah, definitely the hard charger through the field is that 304 Alpha Tauri sponsored Porsche GT3 of Francois Hubert. I was very confused why he was so far down the line. I missed the start of the race and the qualifying, and to see him move up through the field looking exceptionally racy. He sits on the outside, late on the brakes goes Francois Hubert, and up on the inside as the man there, Robbie Teens, decides to just touch the brakes a little bit earlier and succeed that position to Francois Hubert.
6 minutes on the clock to go. We're on lap number 21 with 6 minutes left. Into the Mercedes-Benz curve they go, and then they work their way into that right-hander. and then they'll end up at the Südkurve. That is the final corner of the Hockenheim Ring. They're working their way now towards that part of the circuit. Lovely stadium complex that they've got here on the Hockenheim Ring. That can take a few 100,000 people, that's for sure. Robbie Ting sitting out there in that 8th position. He's 1.4 seconds now behind François Hubert. That is now moved up into that 7th position. So François Hubert, as they head out of the Südkurve onto the main straight, is now beginning to get away there from Robbie Teams.
Yeah, while all that's happening, there's a battle going on for 13th and 14th between Raymond Duggan and JJ van der Merwe, and one of them makes a mistake and loses 2 positions there is van der Merwe, with Raymond Duggan and Herman Lazarus both seizing the opportunity and slip through up on that inside.
Yeah, Lazarus is right on the back bumper there of Duggan as they make their way into that right-hander. So Herman Lazarus there in that 14th position, using that rumble strip and a touch more of the Hockenheim Ring. Will he have a go? Will he have a look there at Duggan? He's got him into that hairpin right-hander. No, it's not the hairpin right-hander, but still he is right on the case there of Duggan, and right there with him is van der Merwe as well.
Yeah, that was a brilliant move attempted there by Herman Lazarus. He had to back out of it eventually. Couldn't get the hammer down coming out of that corner, but he hasn't given up. He's going to go late on the brakes again. Going to try and do the outside. Now he's going to do a switchback. Going to try to flick it back in, but a little bit of understeer there for him, as he just could not get that Porsche's head to come in and do a proper switchback to try and get through on the inside there of a Raymond Duggan.
13, 14 and 15. Duggan, Lazarus and van der Merwe all in the same shot, going into that left-hander, and it is still Duggan that leads them through that right-hander, with Lazarus right in there behind them, followed by JJ van der Merwe in that 67 car. But it's all about Luc Lequesi, nearly 10 seconds currently now. He's 10 seconds ahead there of Johan Fourie, that is in that 2nd position. So it's becoming a lonely drive out there for Lequesi, and also a lonely drive for Fourie, because he is 12 seconds, nearly 13 seconds ahead of Willem Botha. So big gaps, FC, between 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th for that matter.
Yeah, even between, for the top 5, I would say, because if you go down from Willem Botha, you go down a further 13 seconds to Suisse Hubert, who finds himself in a P4, riding on board there with Botha now with Suisse Hubert. Behind Hubert, Sandro Bakari, 15 seconds ahead there of Sandro Bakari. Behind Bakari there, he's got Stephen McCarthy behind him in P6, about 8 seconds behind him. Then François Hubert, Robbie Tings in 8th, and Reinier Hubert in 9th position.
And running off that, that is 8th position, man. That is Tings. Here comes Reinier Hubert, and he's only 1.1 seconds ahead of Graham Stephen, that rounds off the top 10. And if it didn't go horribly wrong for Graham Stephen with Johan Engelbrecht in the opening stint, Graham could have been a lot higher up. But still, there's a lovely fight going on for that 13th position between Duggan and Lazarus. We'll have a look at that one now. There's only 0.5 of a second between Duggan and Lazarus, and there they are. And Graham Stephen has been overtaken. No, it's not. Stephen is attacking. Graham Stephen is attacking. Reinier Hubert is 0.3 of a second just behind Hubert, and now they are virtually side by side.
Yeah, side by side going into the Suidkurve. They go now, and it's going to be a dash down at the main straight with just under 2 minutes left in this race. Graham Stephen not backing out. Reinier Hubert closes on him and completely pushes Graham Stephen off the circuit. That was a bit, for a lack of a better word, a daft move.
Well, I don't know if he realized he was going to be up on his inside, if we just didn't see him there. Let's have a look and see. Graham's on the inside. He's got that line. He moves to the left there, does Hubert, and then makes a contact there with Graham Stephen.
Yeah, that was a bit of a late move to try and take that corner.
I think so, yes.
Yeah. But anyway, riding on board with your race leader, he's got a minute to go to clinch this race. Luke Lucchese in the number 16 Lego sponsored GT3 leads them with a 10-second gap between himself and Fourie in P2. Fourie has tried to do everything he can to catch that man up front, but Lucchese in a class of his own tonight.
And he's picking up traffic. That is Herman Lazarus that you saw just out there ahead of him. And here is Johan Fourie, 10.6 seconds behind Luke Lucchese. And right in front of him is Andre Steenkamp. So he's going to put a lap there, might put a lap there on that Batmobile. Luke Lucchese is now right there with Lazarus, who goes off the track. Ooh, this time you must be careful when you rejoin, because you don't want to wipe out the leader on the final lap.
With 10 seconds to go in the race. There we go, as the seconds count down, and we're going to wait for Lucchese to hit that final corner. This is it. That's it. Time's up. So, barring anything happening on the way to the final straight, Lucchese is the man to catch out there. Luke Lucchese leading this one in the number 16 as he comes around the final corner. And it is champagne time for Luke Lucchese in P1 with 11 seconds between him and P2 man Johan Fourie.
Yeah, I didn't have to worry about the back marker there. Here comes Johan Fourie. He doesn't have to worry about Peter van der Spy. He's 4.3 seconds ahead of him, so it will be a comfortable second position across the line for Johan Fourie. And here comes Willem Botha, while he's far behind Steenkamp, who's a lap down for that matter. So Willem Botha finishing there in that third position.
Yeah, Sway Schubert will be the next man to come through in the Absolute Vodka 22 Porsche as he now comes around the final corner to collect the checkered flag at the end of this round of the Sports and GT Master Series. He takes home P4. Brilliant drive out there, and about 9 seconds behind him, Sandro Bakari, the next man to come through in the Lovenbrouw Porsche as he comes through to finish in P5.
Well, I can tell you now, only the first 13 cars are out there on the lead lap. Here comes Stephen McCarthy. He is going to have a fight with Francois Hubert. Can Francois take that fifth position away from him? No, he won't. He's going to have a go. He's going to have a go, but it's going to be McCarthy just there ahead of Hubert. A tenth of a second between the two of them for P6 and 7.
Late change. Graham Stephen has managed to get past. Renier Hubert dives into the pits.
Well,
wow.
Well, that is weird. So
we've seen this happen before.
Yes, remember that the timing device does go down pit lane, so it will be classified. As a matter of fact, it's classified as 10th.
Yeah, but he lost the position out there to Graham Stephen. If he stayed out around the final corner over the finish line, he would have been P9 because he was hanging onto that P9 ahead of Graham, but Graham takes that one. So there we have it, everybody over the start finish line at the end of this race. 40 minutes done and dusted at the Hockenheim Ring, and what a race it's been.
Well, it was pretty interesting at certain sections, but towards the end there was pretty big gaps. But yeah, I'm still not sure why Renier Hubert made his way into the pit lane, but it was all about Luke Lucchese, 11.1 seconds ahead of Johan Fourie in second, and Willem Botha in that third position, and that is your podium.
Yeah, that is your podium. In P4, Sway Hubert, Sandra Bakari, P5, Stephen McCarthy coming home in P6 with Francois Hubert in P7, Robbie Teens in P8 with Graham Stephen P9, and Colin Plitt rounding off your top 10.
Well, Francois Hubert had to fight hard from nowhere to get into P7, and Graham Stephen as well. They were both towards the tail end of the field. He had to fight hard to get into that 9th position. So FC, who would your the comeback kid in this one certainly has to be Francois Hubert, but who would your driver be?
It's difficult. I didn't see where everybody started from the start of the race, but to me, definitely
Francois qualified
Hubert
on the front row of the grid in second position next to Luke Lucchese.
Okay.
And he finished in 7th after having trouble dropping all the way down to the tail end of the field.
Moving up into P7 in this field, that wants to be done. So
yes.
Definitely one of my contenders.
Comeback and driver of the day.
Yeah, there we go. So, from my side, FC Neva, it was lovely being with you guys here in the Second Gear studio, bringing you the third round of the Sports and GT Master Series, and lovely to be joining the guys out here, Frankie Ennis, Gary Fleming as well. From my side, it was lovely being here. Till next time.
Yeah, honor and a privilege, and we'll see you people back here, same place, same time next week, Wednesday. Goodbye, everybody.
Next week, Wednesday, we will be back with you. As Frankie said, catch us next week, Wednesday, for more action for round number 4, Sports and GT Masters, and that is for the 2022 season. Good night, everybody.